Okay, so to start tonight's practice, I'll have you first start with your feet flat, knees up, and then slowly lower down one vertebra at a time. And you'll be reclined for a little bit, so you shouldn't really need anything under the knees or the back, but maybe you want to put like a blanket or a towel underneath the neck to support the neck. So that's Yogi's choice, just to act as a pillow. I think I'm going to face this way because I feel like it's weird. Okay, so take your feet as wide as the mat and then knock the knees together. So you'll begin your practice in a constructive rest pose. And you can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, or both hands on your belly, or to the side, palms up. So feel your feet connect into the mat, feel the knees knock in together. Kind of play around with where you want your hands, and then move the scapulas around. Rock the head from side to side. And then slowly take a nice full inhale in through the nose. Sigh out the exhale. Inhale in fully. Sigh out completely. Full inhale. Complete exhale. And then I'm going to let you go for the next few minutes. Just notice how the inhale comes in through the nose. See if you can make them long. And then it's your choice if you want to continue to sigh out, make noise, or feel the exhale come out through the nose. right, you're reaching about a halfway mark. So as you inhale, maybe you can feel the rib cage expand and the belly rise. And then as you exhale, pulling the belly button into the spine, and then even play around with tilting the pelvis back just a little bit, creating greater extension in the lumbar spine. And see if you can maintain your long, slow breath. Coming into the last 15 seconds. Gently begin drawing the knees into the chest and hug the knees. Hug the legs. Maybe rock from side to side gently as a way to reset. And then keeping the right knee hugged in, extend the left leg long. Keep the left heel engaged and push out through the left heel to keep the left leg activated. And then from here, you can play around with bringing the right knee in a little bit closer to the chest, or even taking it outside of the chest a little bit. So play around here, because you'll be in this next pose for 5 minutes. So see where you want to be. And I'll cue you halfway, because if you want to play around with changing it up halfway through, you can. But where you keep your knee can change the pose. just ever so slightly. So here we go, and maybe with your breath, you feel your belly push into your shin or anything else that may be touching your leg. Try to keep the shoulders drawing down and away from the ears. And see if you can give yourself little check-ins with the left leg to make sure it stays activated and that you don't allow it to roll over to the outside. Okay, halfway through, give yourself a little check. Okay, you're in about the last 30 seconds. And then with your next inhale, allow the right leg to come high to the sky. And then with the toes, just slowly make some circles. And let the circles eventually get a little bit bigger, getting a little movement going in the hip. And then reverse direction. All right, find some stillness again with the right leg high. How's your left leg doing? Bend into the right knee once again. And you'll come into a supine twist. So from here, the right arm will come out to a T. The left arm guides the right knee across body. And now you're in your supine twist. If you want, you can use a block or a blanket underneath the right knee. You can stay here if you please, or if you're working on stretching the left quad, come into cat pulling tail pose. So reaching the left heel and the right hand together. The right hand will come down to reach for the left heel, the left foot. And you can maintain the twist in the cervical spine or keep the gaze up high. And you'll stay in this next pose for 5 minutes again. And this is where this deep breath that you cultivated in the beginning of your practice is going to serve you best. The breath really needs to come from the belly here. The twist doesn't allow for the lungs to fully expand. So while you're here, it's gentle in the low back, it's gentle in the quads, but the breath stays deep. And I'll give you a halfway check-in. You're about halfway through. Last 30 seconds. And then slowly coming out, if you took the bind, extend your left leg long, and then slowly bring the right knee into the chest. Have the left knee meet the right, and give the legs a gentle squeeze. And then set both feet as wide as the mat. Allow the knees to knock back in your constructive rest pose, where you'll stay for the next 10 full cycles of breath. And while you're here, just notice between left and right. Nothing's good, nothing's bad. Just notice the work you've already created. And then carefully hug the knees fully back into the chest. Gently rock from side to side. And then knowing that you're going to do the left side. So extend the right leg long. Feel the right foot push out, right heel engage. And then play around here. How deep do you want to keep the left knee hugged in? Do you need it more towards the midline or towards the outside of the chest cavity? And we're all a little different, and it may vary from left to right. But no, you'll be here for the next 5 minutes, and no worries, I'll give you a halfway point. So if you want to adjust, you can. Your only job is to make sure that you're not allowing the right foot to splay out, that your right leg stays activated and engaged. You promote a long torso, a long spine by hugging the left knee into the chest, reaching the crown of the head up or towards the top of your mat, and breathe deep. yogis. You're halfway through. Last few breaths here. And then allow your left leg to rise on the inhale. And slowly begin to do some circles with the toes, the ankle, and then maybe the entire leg. And then reverse direction. And then bring your left knee in. Knowing you're coming into the supine twist on the other side. So use your right hand to bring your left knee across body. And if you took cat pulling tail on the other side and you don't feel like taking it on this side, don't feel like you have to. And if you didn't and you want to try it on this side, you should. So whenever you're ready, find where you want to be in your supine twist, knowing you'll be here for the next 5 minutes. Really keep the deep breath and find a spot where you can just ease into it. So if you're noticing you're tensing already, back up, off. All right, I'll give you a halfway point. You're about halfway through. Okay, coming into the last 30 seconds. Slowly extend the right leg long if you took the bind. Bring the left knee into the chest. Have the right knee meet the left. Gently rock from side to side or give yourself some gentle pelvic circles. And then place both feet flat. Come back into the constructive rest pose for 5 full cycles of breath and see if you can just feel a balance. Or see if one side benefited more than the other. This just gives you information and awareness. Two more breaths. And then extend both legs long. If you want, you can give yourself a full body stretch, but make your way onto your stomachs or prone, so face down onto the mat. Okay. So face down onto the mat if you want. You can always gently bolster the area underneath the diaphragm or the rib cage and the hips to help support the low back, but bring the feet together, toes are out, zip the legs together, and place the forehead onto stacked hands for 2 minutes for a crocodile pose. And while you're here, give yourself this like opportunity to connect your whole body with the mat. So the forehead is onto your hands, crown of the head is reaching up, sliding the scapulas down and away from the ears. Feel the forearms connect so you can soften here. And then coming down to the spine, instead of pushing the ASIS or the hip bones into the mat, try tilting the legs back just a little bit and engaging the pubic bone to touch the mat. Or see if you can find a little happy balance. Sometimes we push our hip bones into the mat. See if you can find a nice healthy balance in the tilt. by aiming the pubic bone for the mat. And then the legs will zip together, heels touch. But if you realize this is too much, just bring your feet flat onto the mat. And we're here for, or you're here for about another minute and a half. Don't worry, I'm minding the time. And then taking your last breath here, bring the tops of the feet onto the mat. Maybe legs come about hip distance apart. And you can roll your hips from side to side. And then just gently make your way so you're placing the elbows underneath your shoulders, coming into a Sphinx pose. So feeling the forearms engaged into the mat, look down and then gently bring yourself on up. So keeping the slight tilt in your pelvis that you've created, this should be a beautiful beginning of a back bend for you. Your heart should be shining forward. Lift the chin a little bit to open up the throat. And you're here for another minute and a half, but don't worry, I'm minding the time. See if you can find stillness in the pose, but maybe movement of the body as you breathe. Fifteen more seconds. And then lower down as you exhale. Stacking the palms on top of each other. If you want, you can rock the hips from side to side, or even bend the knees and take the feet up and just gently rock from side to side. Seeing if this helped release anything. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And then find stillness with the feet down. Next up is half frog pose on the right side. So feel the left leg totally engaged. Once again, you don't want it to roll too far in or out. And then guide the right knee up to about hip height. Turn the right toes out so you have an L shape from crown to hip. And then a little bend in your L, so your 90-degree angle from hip to knee. And then you'll go from knee to ankle, and then your next 90-degree from ankle to toe. If you want, you can add a little gentle twist by taking the left arm out to a T and set the right side of the face down. Knowing you'll be here for the next 5 minutes, and I'll give you a nice little halfway marker. You're about halfway through. Okay, you're getting into your last minute. Take your final breath here. Maybe sigh out the exhale. And slowly bring the right leg back to meet the left. Push yourself up into a tabletop pose. And then bring the right knee through to the hands, setting yourself up for swan. Now you've already started doing some gentle hip opening in your practice. So play around here. See if you want to be a little more restorative or a little more deeper. And just staying up nice and tall here. For the next few, half minute, tuck under the left toes, gauge where the left knee needs to be. And then set your left foot down, knowing that you'll keep it stable, prevent it from rolling in or out. Engage a little bit where you want your right shin to be. Can you creep it up a little bit, or does it need to come closer to the body? And then flex the right foot, palms underneath shoulders. Take 3 full cycles of breath. And then slowly start walking forward and find some stillness in your sleeping swan for the next 6 minutes. Halfway through. Last 30 seconds here. Take your last cycle of breath. Let your next inhale guide you up with palms underneath the shoulders. Come up nice and tall. And then tuck under the left toe and bring the right knee onto the mat into a tabletop pose. If you feel called to it, maybe you make some C shapes with the spine, going from left to right. Allow the hips to drop off. And then extend yourself long again onto the mat, prone. Come back into your crocodile pose, stacking palms on top of each other. Legs are zipped together, heels are touching. And use this as a reset point. So stay here for 5 deep cycles of breath. And then extend both legs long again. And note left to right, right to left. Nothing's good, nothing's bad, it just is. All right, find half frog on the left side. So bring the left knee to hip height. So it's out coming to the outside of the left hip. Find some balance on the right leg. And turn the left foot out. And before you fully settle and commit into your half frog pose again, notice here how the tilt of the pelvis and what's being pressed more deeply into the mat. Is it the ASIS, or do you notice when you start tilting the pubic bone a little bit closer or finding that halfway point? What's going to work best for you? And then if you want to add a little bit of a twist, you can always take the right arm out to a T and set the right side of the face onto the mat. Knowing that you'll be here for the next 5 minutes. So see if you can really take advantage of the rotation you're creating in the hip. This nice, gentle external rotation. The flexion of the knee and the stability of the right leg. You're about halfway through. Last minute here. Final cycle of breath. And then carefully bring your left leg back to meet the right. Come back into your gentle crocodile pose. No, sorry. Forehead onto the mat so you can push yourself up into tabletop. And then from tabletop, you'll bring your left knee through to the hands, knowing you're coming into swan. So make any adjustments you need here, maybe lifting the right knee back towards the toes or towards the hips, adjusting where the left shin needs to be in relation to the parallel of the top of the mat. And then stay tall here, just so you can feel yourself balance on your right leg, a little bit on the left hip. And even playing around with the pelvic tilt that you were doing when you were in your frog pose or when you were prone onto your mat. See if that little pelvic tilt helps you or hurts you. Just as a nice little check-in. 3 big breaths here. And then fold forward on your next exhale. You're here for the next 6 minutes, no worries. I'll give you a little halfway point. You're entering into your last minute. Let your next cycle of breath be your last cycle in this pose. And then placing the palms underneath the shoulders, let your inhale push you up. Exhale into tabletop. If you want to do some C shapes with the spine, you can. And then slowly make your way back prone or face down onto the mat long. And then stack palms on top of each other and rest your forehead. And feel if you can feel balance between the left and the right. And if you do or if you don't, it's not right or wrong. It's just information you've created. And then carefully, slowly start rolling over so then you're face up onto the mat. Supine once again. And then you can hug the knees into the chest and give yourself a gentle rock from side to side. But whenever you're ready, make your way into your Shavasana. And I encourage you to really pay attention as to how your legs extend, push out through the heels, and then maybe heel toe or walk the legs a little bit wide. Wave the feet from side to side, allow them to splay open. Give yourself a full body stretch. Bring the arms out to the side, take up space here. And then before you fall into your steady breath, play around a little bit with the pelvic tilt. And then fall into your steady, slow breath, knowing I am my new time and will call you back.
All right. If you want, you can stay in your Shavasana, but if you want to end your practice with me, slowly make your way onto your right side. Stay there for a few cycles of breath. Use your left hand to push you on up, coming into a seated pose. Bring the hands into heart center, thumbs on the sternum with a soft, gentle bow. End your practice with a few cycles of breath. I honor this place inside of me in which the entire universe lives. It is a place of harmony, it is a place of compassion, and it is a place of love. And when I am in this place in me and you are in this place in you, together we are one. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.